All right, I try to use discernment with the information that I come across, and even though in a lot of churches you will have a certain amount of what I would call closed-minded thinking regarding the spirit of discernment, i.e., they will make predictions many, many times, but they will point their finger at others and say that others that dabble with attempting to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, by looking within their own consciousness, they will demonize that. I don't agree with that. So while I will believe in certain biblical teachings, I will not deny the truth that I have come to on my own. So there's a book that we're going to talk about, Awakening to Your Psychic Ability. And one has to use discernment when they're dealing with psychics, when they're dealing with channelers. I don't deal with channelers. I don't directly deal with psychics at present. And I don't really think that there are any psychics in the audience. Feel free to let me know if you have certain abilities and if you do pick up on certain things. You can also send a private email, but I'm not currently aware of any at present. But meditation is important. Breath is important. If you don't breathe, folks, right, you're not going to live. And so in this day and age of high anxiety, as we approach war, as we approach economic collapse, as many people are not prepared, right, to feed themselves for months or years on end without the supermarket, right, including myself, we have to know how to access our deeper powers. So I use discernment with regards to this book, Awaken Your Psychic Ability by Lisa Campion, and I take the information that is relevant and I leave the rest. Most of this is relevant. This is a pretty good book. There are people out there that think that all angels are demons. I'm not convinced of that. There are people out there that purport to expose the New Age movement, and they seem to, including myself in the past, they seem to have almost a knee-jerk reaction and think that many things that are spiritual are New Age, when in fact they're not. And angels are referenced in the Bible, although we are to worship God, not necessarily his angels. But I think that we should be praying for God to send his angels of protection. And when we deserve it and we're doing the right thing, God in some cases will bless us, and in other times, we may have some lessons to learn. And a lot of people are resistant to the idea of learning lessons in this world, as if they're pure souls or something. I would disagree with that. I would say that there are souls right here on this planet that have a lot to learn about compassion for people that don't look like them or sound like them, people that are being demonized by their media, including the top individuals in the New Age movement, which I've talked to you about multiple times now. Certain people out there that claim that they are channeling the Ascended Masters are absolutely on the dark side. And so you got to be careful what you deal with. It could be said that you should just keep it between you and God when praying for protection. So I'm going to read to you the section on meditation. There's so much information in this book that I can't even begin to delve into it. There's also a section on numerology. As far as dealing with pendulums, I don't deal with pendulums right now, but I have in the past. And it's given me inaccurate answers. It's also given me accurate answers, but you really don't know what you're dealing with. So you've got to be careful with that. I don't deal with tarot decks. I don't deal with palm readings. I don't deal with runes. I don't deal with Norse mythology. I don't ever pray to Odin. And yet a lot of these things now are being thrown in the direction of people's laps, and a lot of unspiritual people are dabbling in things that they should be aware of. But meditation and centering and grounding, that's another conversation, folks. You should be grounded. You should meditate. And there's a big difference between meditation in a very simple way and, say, yoga, for example. Yoga is also highly demonized by mainstream Christians and others. I don't really understand why, but I will have you know that I haven't really come across very spiritual women that are involved in yoga. In fact, I've come across a lot of judgmental ones, and some of them engage in it for the wrong purposes. I saw one female YouTuber discussing or contemplating from a Christian perspective if yoga pants were satanic. I wouldn't say that any form of pants are satanic. However, if people are dressing a certain way in order to look super sexy, to draw attention deliberately to their ass, that could be considered satanic, especially if they're going to become super angry with anyone that might look. Like, why try to act and look super, super sexy to show off your perfectly shaped body? And then when a man looks, you freak out and call him a misogynist or a sexist or something like that. It just makes no sense, folks. So there's a lot of unbalanced people out there that are dabbling in psychic affairs and spirituality that are not necessarily the most spiritual. So no, just meditation by yourself, even though we're going to talk about it, isn't necessarily going to keep away the dark forces from penetrating your mind. You need a deeper spiritual connection with God. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in time. Let's begin. Basically, the title here, chapter 2, is Defend Your Psychic Self. And I'm going to read a little bit about that. And so for those of you that are sensitive to the word psychic, defend your spiritual body in this era of spiritual warfare. Just change the language, right? Instead of psychic self-defense, we're talking about protect yourself from spiritual warfare. Okay, so it's all in the language that's being used. As we open up our abilities, it's also important to learn to manage our energy and sort out the good energy from the bad. In fact, the more we open, the more important it is to learn how to stay energetically grounded, clear, and protected. These skills are something that all sensitives need to know, and for me, it has been the difference between feeling like a raw nerve that can't leave my house without being overwhelmed emotionally, psychically, energetically, and being confident and strong in the world no matter what I am doing. She also talks about her involvement in the martial arts, which aided her spiritual practice. I would definitely recommend martial arts, not to be confused with MMA, combining martial arts with meditation and a spiritual practice, as I believe that men of God need to learn how to defend themselves if they don't, and not rely on a gun, which could result in someone being murdered. And it's amazing how many times I've seen someone on video in America respond by shooting someone after someone else pushed them or got in their face, and it was still considered self-defense. But they straight up shot someone and the person died. All the person did was push them or get in their face. Really? So there is big time hypocrisy in our society where some people aren't even allowed to defend themselves or resist someone trying to take their camera away from them. And then you look at another circumstance and it's totally okay for somebody else to shoot someone. So the martial arts, folks, are spiritual in essence. Defending women, defending yourself, it is your right, but much of what you're seeing right now in the media is just simply glorifying violence. The problem's so bad that if someone sees someone demonstrating martial arts techniques, as I was on videos years ago, they will confuse that person for one of the UFC folks or trying to look like a badass or something when they're showing the flowing movements of the arms. So a lot of human beings do not have the discernment, the intuition, or the intelligence to realize when someone is different than what is being portrayed in media. Let's get right to the centering. Let's start with one of the most basic and powerful of these energy management practices, how to get centered. As we go about our day, we tend to scatter our energy and attention outside of ourselves, and that can make us feel unsettled and ungrounded. Your center is the part of your body where you feel like your consciousness resides. This might be the actual center of your body, like your belly, but it's really more about where you feel the center of where your being resides. The term she used was locus. For some people, it's in their heads, as I was taught by Leon when I took some of his classes. But most people feel their center to be either the heart, which the Sufis talk about, the belly, and sometimes below the navel. There's also Qigong and other forms of Chinese meditations that get into this, where they don't necessarily focus on the chakra systems, but I believe 3 main energy centers in the body. Centering is practice that allows us to bring those scattered parts of ourselves back home and to reconnect with ourselves. When we lose connection with ourselves, we can feel lost, depressed, and anxious. We get uncentered when our minds and emotions become stuck in something outside of ourselves. For example, once you are home, you might still be thinking about work and feeling anxious about it, or you might feel anxious when you watch videos and you get interference. Centering is a powerful and quick way to manage your energy. And I don't understand why my portable audio recorder has fluctuating audio quality. That was not happening before. And I don't understand why my Audacity program that I use on my desktop has had its audio levels jack up to the max. I never adjusted my Audacity settings. So again, folks, I've told you about potential interference trying to stop me from communicating with you. And now that I'm talking about it, it seems that things are increasing, but I will not give up. I had to open a whole brand new program today just to be able to make this recording. That never had to happen before. And so we have to meditate and center to cope with what AI is doing to our web pages, right? You have to be able to take a deep breath and keep it together. Otherwise, the machine wins. And we can't have that. We can't allow the matrix to just win without a true fight. So here's an exercise that she has put together. Centering is something that can be done in a few breaths whenever we notice that we have become disconnected from ourselves. We can center ourselves anytime. And she also has a web page where she says you can download the meditation. I haven't looked at this web page yet, but I'm going to give you the web address. newharbinger.com/50744. HARBINGER.com/50744. All right? Start with pushing your feet into the floor and taking a deep breath. Closing your eyes helps too. Tap into yourself and try to find the most essential part of who you are. It can help to remember a time where you felt joyful, at peace, or in the flow of doing something that you really love. Notice if you can connect that feeling of joy and passion to a part of your body. It might be your heart or somewhere in your belly. Without thinking about it too much, put your hands on that place. It can help to say, I am here as you do this. Now breathe deeply into your center. As you inhale, imagine that you are pulling yourself back into that place. You are pulling all the scattered parts of yourself back into your center. On the exhale, breathe down your legs and out the bottoms of your feet, releasing any stray thoughts and feelings that you are ready to let go of. Repeat this until you feel your attention and energy are back inside you and you feel peaceful. Practice this anytime you feel scattered or disconnected from yourself. Okay, next section is grounding. Now, I did purchase a grounding mat by the Hogga company, Hogga. It is recommended that you take off your socks and you place it under your feet so you can ground inside, which is something that people are typically not able to do when it's snowing outside or it's winter. And what I've been doing with this grounding pad is using it for the computer. Most of the time, I'm using it to ground out the computer. I also have some sugarite stones that I recently purchased, which can be, they're flat stones, taped. They have a sticker on them to electronic devices. I also obtained an EMF hat, and I also have an EMF beanie. Although there is no real replacement for meditation. A lot of people have tried to get around it by wearing orgonite items. I really don't know if orgonite works. I did get an orgonite pyramid device to deal with the invasive smart meter energy that is here locally. And I'm not sure if I'm meant to have the orgonite on the actual device itself or in my bedroom. I'm not sure. But I do sleep at present within close proximity of a smart meter, within 20 feet, and the safe distance is 40 feet. So not only am I contending with the negative energies of the region that I live in which murder is out of control, and many criminals have guns, and there's massive catalytic converter theft, and burglaries, and assaults, I have to contend with the human threats, the unseen forces, and these technologies. Grounding involves being fully in our bodies, with our mind in the present moment and connecting to the energy of the earth. The opposite of being grounded is being ungrounded, which we experience as being spacey and unable to focus on the present moment. For example, many sensitive people learn the habit of energetically leaving their bodies, something psychologists call dissociating. There's probably a lot of that going on with binge watching content. Empaths often become ungrounded when they hit empathetic overload and their senses are swamped with sensory stimulation. As sensitives, our nervous systems get blown out easily by lights, especially fluorescent and LED, and some people think that those may be entity doorways. Sounds and the chaos of other people's energy and their phones, right? Some of these phones have 5G capability. Some of our phones, like mine, do not. And so when certain people come into our field and they don't want to put their stuff in a Faraday box, basically their cell phones are polluting our energy. And so like right now, with neighbors and whatnot, there's 10, 15 Wi-Fis that pop up on my computer. That is not good. And I'm still looking for the right device to shield Wi-Fi if it's even possible. But I'm not really impressed by what I've seen so far. If you want to recommend something, let me know and I will consider putting it on the Amazon wish list. Places like big box stores or the shops during the holidays blow the circuits in our sensitive nervous system and put us into fight or flight mode. The flight part of our fight or flight mode is this disassociated state. Oh man, I went through that hardcore in Colorado. When we go into flight and disassociate, we may temporarily and have an illusionary sense of safety. But disassociation is not a non-productive habit. The truth is you're actually safer if you are fully present in your body. It is a non-productive habit, disassociation. Being in your body and having your mind in the present moment means that you can find your power and respond appropriately to whatever situation you are in. This is something that I learned very quickly when I was studying martial arts. If you space out during a sparring match, you will quickly and sometimes painfully lose that match. I remember being taught by a teacher a long time ago, if you're involved in a fight, do not lose focus. Do not think about other things. Think about nothing but the fight. To help us ground quickly and efficiently, we're going to practice connecting with a part of our energy anatomy called the grounding cord. This cord extends down from our tailbones into the earth and is essential in keeping us grounded. Here is a breathing and visualization meditation that can help us reconnect to the earth. To visualize your grounding cord, use whatever image works for you, but make the cord very wide as a dinner plate or a trash can. As Leon taught me, even make it as wide as the room that you're in, or even larger. You may want to imagine your grounding cord as the taproot of a big tree or a heavy chain with an anchor at the end of it. And again, she mentions a website where you can download a guided medication. Aren't we medicated to the max with all this algorithmic nonsense? Meditation at newharbinger.com/50744. Start with sitting in a chair with your feet on the floor or standing up. If you are sitting, push your feet into the floor. Straighten your spine as much as you can. Slouching tends to create blocks in the central column of energy, known as the Hara line, which runs up your spine. Take a deep breath and imagine a big beam of light coming in the top of your head and traveling all the way down your spine to your tailbone. Drop your energy and attention down to your tailbone and imagine, pretend, or visualize the grounding cord descending deep into the earth. As you exhale, see how deep you can get your grounding cord to go. Visualize it moving easily through all the layers of the building that you are in and deep down into the earth. Do this exercise anywhere and anytime you notice that you are feeling spacey, ungrounded, and unsafe. So a couple of things that she points out that help with grounding. Go barefoot outside, right, which I do. And of course, there's a grounding mat, which you can get online from one of these companies. There's also grounding sheets, although I didn't have a positive experience with the grounding sheets. But some people swear by them. And there's also the book Earthing, which an old friend gave me years ago. And there is information there. There's also many documentaries on YouTube about earthing and about grounding as well. There are people out there that also live off grid that have grounded their tiny homes and sheds. And there's a way to do that also. Going outside in nature. Walk in the woods, on the beach, in a city park. I try to go to parks as much as possible, and I avoid the mall. I avoid the grocery store unless I need food. I avoid restaurants. I don't eat out in restaurants. I always get my food to go. But at present, because of the eclipse energies and the unhealthy attitudes that are occurring in our society at this time, I prefer to cook my own food. Do things like housework, washing the dishes, taking care of yourself and your environment. So by basically being active and cleaning up dirt, that helps in the grounding process. And it also helps keep bad spirits away. Also, I don't know if you know about the aloe vera plant. It's only in the recent months that I got several aloe vera plants, a total of 4 of them. It looks like one of them may have died, but I got 2 that were about $16 each from a nursery. And I'm taking care of those plants at present, and they do bring a certain amount of positive energy. Exercise mindfully and joyfully can put your back in your body. Walking, yoga, lifting weights, and dancing, anything that wakes up your body will do it. And then it talks about gemstones. Eat healthy food, drink plenty of water, get sufficient sleep. These and other aspects of self-care are very grounding. I'll just talk about crystals. There are people out there that think that all these rocks are evil. If you're worshiping the rocks as gods, maybe. If you're trying to channel the spirits in those rocks, maybe. If you have spirits in those rocks that are not good, that may be bringing you bad luck, maybe. But certain rocks, such as turquoise, certain necklaces, certain rocks such as obsidian, black tourmaline, if I said that correctly, and others, I think can have a positive impact. But you need to use discernment with what you choose to do. But I'll tell you, there's plenty of people that walk around with crystals, that do the crystal thing, that don't really have compassion for others. They may be just simply in service to self mode. So take the information that applies and leave the rest. If you want to stay strictly within the biblical realms, or what is believed to be approved by the Bible, frankincense and myrrh are incense that is approved. There may be other incenses that Jesus is known to have burned. And there are beliefs that some things that are burned, such as sage, may not actually protect us. And as J.P. Haggart put it, if you want to wake the dead, go ahead and wake the dead. Now, I'm not telling you that that is my final opinion on the subject, but I did stop burning sage several weeks ago. I noticed an anomaly in which I did burn a great deal of sage and actually went in a circle around where I'm staying at present. And there was a stalker that appeared 1 hour later, and he drove by twice and just pretty much idled in his vehicle outside where we are. And I didn't know if it was, who it was. But there are people, right? Many people assume these are all gang stalkers. I know the truth, though. There are demons and unclean spirits that are motivating humans all the friggin' time, especially some of these humans that always have a cell phone next to them, which is why I always encourage my audience, if possible, to consume my content via a laptop computer and to not just consume my content over the cell phone. You do what you want to do. Okay, but if you think that you can be super, super grounded while having a cell phone strapped to your head and holding a cell phone in your hands, your hand chakras, I would say no, 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 no. Having a cell phone on all the time and consuming all your content through the cell phone is not spiritual. In fact, it goes the other way and it ungrounds you and it affects your aura and probably warps the shape of your aura. So do what you want to do, but I would say that there's no reason why you don't also have or should have unless you're homeless. Are you homeless? If so, let us pray for you. But I don't know of anyone that's homeless in the audience. So use a laptop when possible. And in some cases, download my podcasts or the podcast that you listen to, rip them from YouTube. Don't stare into the screen. Listen to the information. And in some cases, do it with the internet not on. Go full days without the internet in some cases. Unless, of course, right now we need to be aware of the things that are in the news. But we also could be very, very manipulated by the events in Israel, in Gaza, and the murder and bloodshed that may be occurring in your own hometown right now. So we want to be aware to a certain degree. I go to Drudge Report. I go to Google News. I look at the Windows Start app, which spies on all my podcasts and then dishes selective content to me based on what I say. Real creepy stuff. So I'm aware that bots are reading some of these articles, writing some of these articles. This article is written by a bot. Oh, great. I trust it even less. So be careful, folks. It's a jungle out there. So now that we've covered centering, which is centering, pulling into that heart center, breathing in, review, breathing in, breathing out, come into your body and center in your heart, not in your head, in your heart or your belly, that general area where your power base is. And then ground. On the topic of grounding, right? There's many different versions of grounding that I have come across. There's grounding, there's pulling the energy up through your feet, running it through your legs, and then down your grounding cord from your tailbone to the center of the earth. And then there's grounding that just runs from the tailbone to the center of the earth, as well as bringing cosmic energy from the heavens, if you will. And it's good to visualize that, that the true light, not the false light, not some alien light, but the true light of creation, the true light of God is coming in. Whereas you may deal with other people that say something else or mention certain deities, right? But if you will it in a manifestation and you're reading certain biblical texts or spiritual texts and you're breathing in a specific way, you can activate aspects of your higher consciousness, right? Because there's a reason why people talk about fluoride affecting the pineal gland and human consciousness. If we weren't powerful and capable of accessing some of these powers, would they really be hell-bent on poisoning our water supply? Clearing is how we move unwanted energy from our systems. We constantly pick up energy from other people and places, and as sensitives, we tend to collect it in a way that impacts us negatively. The more sensitive and empathetic you are, the more of an issue this might be for you. Empaths tend to have a spongy, porous energy field, as I do. This is also why I had to leave the internet for a number of years. It wasn't just the things that I cited before. It was the sense of feeling too psychic and not being able to turn it off. In 2020, in 2021, when people were speculating about my death, when people were going into my Facebook group and talking about me when I wasn't even there, like I was dead, I was dreaming about it. And I don't know how detailed I want to get with you, but this is also weaponized. Once you tell the world that you're a sensitive and that you tap into certain things, dark forces will also attempt to manipulate you and harm you with your sensitivity. Right? So you have to learn how to shield yourself from these attacks. And so a lot of people out there that have never truly been attacked by dark forces, they don't talk about shielding because they've never been under attack. And they think that just God and their understanding of the Bible is protecting them, when in reality, many of these people are not activists. They're not content creators. They're not doing anything to attract the dark forces at all. They're not doing anything to attract the Eye of Sauron. Right? And so they falsely believe that they are being protected from all these evil things, when in reality, they aren't doing jack squat to expose the dark realms. When you go on that path, Either you learn to protect yourselves from these dark realms, or you become another radicalized human being that ends up being possessed by these energies on the internet. And the vast majority of your peers in the conspiracy world, if you know what I'm talking about, absolutely are being manipulated by these dark forces. Sometimes people that are being manipulated by these dark forces send me emails as if we're friends or something. Hey, Alex, how's it going? Right? You want to engage content with me? You want to talk with me? Right? What's on your side of the street? Are you promoting the true light or some garbly goo? Right? I want to draw good people to me that believe truly that all lives matter in a real sense, not a right-wing talking point sense, but a real sense. And I will not give up while I am still in this flesh from that goal of knowing higher consciousness humans. Because the last 15 years, the last 20 years of creating content has been very difficult to put it in a pretty basic way without a whole bunch of details. Very difficult, very traumatizing, very challenging. There's a lot of people out there that say that they're spiritual, but they don't want to hear about the suffering of others. So they fail to show me how they're really spiritual. They fail to show me, some of them, how they're really patriots and proponents of freedom and liberty when they don't really care about freedom and liberty for all human beings. That includes the human beings that their governments have bombed back to the Stone Age. So there's a lot of people that like to put on these conferences and talks where there are supposedly people that care about liberty and freedom, but they don't talk about those humans that are suffering the most in this world at the hands of the New World Order. They would rather not talk about that. They would rather front, or as some would say, LARP. And I'm here to tell you that that behavior is not conscious. Alex Ansary knows what the truth is. Residual energy. Have you ever walked into a room after people have been arguing there? We can feel anger, hatred, resentment, sadness, frustration, and grief, all trapped in that space. The residual energy is made up of emotions, thoughts, psychic and life force energy, and it can linger in our environment. It's most often intense or negative energy that sticks with us. High impact trauma residue. This is the emotional and energetic residue from places where bad things have happened. Crime scenes, battlefields, hospitals, courthouses, jails. And think about those people that want to be a jail guard, right? That try to actually involve themselves in oppressing others. And other places where trauma has occurred. So there's places where you live, folks. Some of you, most of you live in the grid. Most of us are in the grid now, and most of us are in situations in which when the shit hits the fan, bad stuff's going to be going down because these people haven't prepped. And there are certain places in which there has been massive desecration of the Native Americans. There are some places that I visited where I've picked up on the energy of all of the murdered cows and bison, even though I'm a meat eater. Right? For those of you that have seen Dances with Wolves, when they were trying to eradicate the Indians, they even killed their food source, the bisons. So there's a scene there when Kevin Costner and the Indians come up on a hill and they see the trauma. They're traumatized by just a whole region of dead bison. And it breaks their heart because the people that killed that bison didn't eat that food. They didn't even they maybe took their hides, if anything. Because it was being traded at a high dollar at that time, but they didn't even appreciate the meat nor thank God for it. And I'm telling you what, our society is no different. It's no different. It pollutes the earth. It doesn't take accountability for its actions and the people that it kills. And so there is serious residual trauma. Even if you don't live in foreign countries, there is still residual trauma from the genocides that are taking place, and it affects human beings whether they know it or not. I actually broke down in tears when I went to a different state. Then I was in an area where I knew that there had been a lot of animals killed, and it was an area that was right off a freeway, right next to their mall. And I just paused for a few minutes in my truck and just released some tears in just the horror that I was feeling. That I was even there to begin with, that I had even been displaced from my true homeland of Oregon. So let me read the section on energy clearing. I hope you're getting something from these podcasts in which I give to you my 2 cents in addition to reading from a book. This is my go-to clearing ritual. Use this powerful clearing ritual anytime you feel impacted by energetic overload. Start with the centering and grounding cord meditations to get centered and grounded. Okay, so we talked about that. As you settle into yourself, notice if there is a place in your system that feels tense or restricted. Many people hold energy that needs to be cleared in either their hearts or their bellies, but it could be anywhere. Okay, as you inhale, use your breath to bring in light to wherever you feel the energetic residue is in your system. Okay, so you're bringing in light to, and you want to focus on God's light. You might also want to read some scripture if that's what you're into, or what fits into your religion of choice, because this program is not just for Christians and it's not just for conspiracy theorists. I'm asking God to help my platform grow with all kinds of people, and just labeling everybody sheeple, folks, has done nothing to help us grow the so-called truth movement. Capiche? Right? As you exhale, imagine that the energy gunk is flushing down the grounding cord into the earth. We always want to thank the earth and ask that the gunk be transformed. Think compost. You can also pull energy up from the earth and blow any energetic gunk out the top of your head if that feels more natural to you. Do this every time you feel your system is clogged with energetic residue. And I'm going to add something to this. I am going to share with you something that Leon shared with me, okay? Now that we've covered centering, we've covered grounding, we've covered clearing, and you can get more information on the internet, okay? But maybe it helps you think about these things if I talk about it. And I break up some of the more serious content that I put out there, and I share with you these views. Because I've been planning to read you sections from this book for over a month now, which is why it's overdue, along with Terry Crew's book. Speaking of which, so here's this little tuning fork here. Oming, chanting, repeating certain mantras or affirmations, using certain tuning forks. I also want to get a Tibetan singing bowl at some point in the future. Or you can listen to those things off YouTube. But I said earlier, convert your YouTube content to MP3s, turn the internet off, and put your content onto, I'm not going to promote the iPod Corporation, but get a MP3 player or something, right? You don't have to be loyal to China with the Apple products. I don't recommend that, but I also don't think that you're a bad person if you have a Mac. I don't think that we got to be crazy with it. But I'm saying you might want to find that music, whether it be Native American flutes or music from your culture or your ancestry, and that may activate, right, the cells within your body and help you resonate at a certain frequency. But I don't think, ladies and gentlemen, that all those videos marked 528 hertz are legit, nor some of the authors that have written about that content without getting detailed, right? Sometimes what's really missing is just natural energy and tones that are not digital, like real music, real authentic music that your ancestors would play or engage in. Energetic clearing is really all about changing our habit of absorbing other people's energy and holding on to it. As we practice energy clearing regularly, we're developing over time better psychic hygiene. It's like when you need to do really deep spring cleaning on your house. If it's been a while the house is probably really dirty and everything needs a thorough cleaning, but if you keep up with the dirt regularly, you have a lot less work to do. When I was living off the grid, folks, I had a lot of negative people that were looking into my space, that were thinking negative thoughts about me. And it seems like some of that has tapered off a little bit, but I was not bathing on a regular basis because I did not have running water. I would go to the hot springs in the town there and sit in the sulfur baths So that seemed to be a nice thing. I also lost a super big crystal sitting down there because I forgot about it and spaced it. But I knew that sitting in that salt bath was healthy for me. There was a few times, I never filmed it, so you never saw me down there. I would go in the middle of the night with my crappy little 1980s Toyota, $700 car. And I would drive down there in the middle of the night in the winter when it was freezing. And I would not get naked, but get down to my swimming trunks. And I would get in that boiling hot water. And one time the cops came and actually told me, you can't be there. You can't be here, bro. The park's closed. He actually asked me if I was drinking because, some people do have an alcohol problem. It's like, bro, I'm not even smoking weed right now. I'm just trying to be one with nature. So if somebody does live off grid and they don't have a shower and they don't have a bath, going somewhere where there is a river or there is a bath, standing in the water can help clear your energy. Also, another way to clear your energy, if you have a place or a park where there is running water, right, and there's a bridge that's over that running water, it's believed that some entities that attach to humans are unable to stay attached to that human when they cross that bridge or when they go into the water. And I believe that Robert Bruce, who has a book on psychic self-defense, I have about 5 or 6 of them. They're not all high quality. A lot of them repeat themselves. And I would say that if someone is a content creator like I am, and you're actually pushing back against nefarious forces, you actually need to do way more than what a lot of these people are suggesting. Because a lot of these authors, a lot of these individuals, they are not really exposing very much about this world. Now, if somebody is involved in helping someone clear themselves of their demons, of which I try to do for many, many years, and exorcists also try to do, one can come under attack from the demons that exit the body of their audience members. And YouTube can facilitate that process of demonic possession. Not only demonic possession, but once a demon's released, as I said, they may actually come after the person that helped them. And so anyone involved in public speaking, anyone involved in truly calling out the dark forces must practice spiritual hygiene. Otherwise, they will become tired, they will become drained, and they may have nightmares. I had some nightmares around the time of the eclipse of being in a home that was being shot up with machine guns. I've had other nightmares and dreams where I've seen guns pointed at me. I've had other nightmares and dreams in which there are home invasion scenes by gangbangers and individuals like that. And these are psychic attacks, folks. They are not automatically warnings and omens of things to come. In some cases, this is intimidation from the dark forces that is coming into our field and saying, oh, you want to keep talking about us, right? Yeah. Here's a little of this. And so there's times when we have eclipses coming through and new moons and full moons and solar flares and geomagnetic storms where we get more of that. And people may not know why. You also want to minimize the amount of time that you spend on the internet before you go to sleep. You notice now that I'm wearing the blue light glasses to protect my eyes, although I'm not at the moment. Where are those damn glasses? Here they are. So I'm trying to condition myself after years of being online, in some cases all day long, because it's where my work is, folks, and there's no hiding from it. And you want to avoid watching violent content before you go to bed, right? I watched a video before I had that nightmare of somebody shooting up a festival or a few individuals involved in some sort of a gunfight, literally within days of the eclipse. And so in the dream, I could have been astral traveling to a house in this region in which there's a lot of drive-by shootings and there's a lot of murder and there's a lot of little kids as young as 6 years old being shot in the head all the time. I could be unconsciously astral traveling, even if I'm not trying to astral travel. Our bodies do travel at night. Our spirits do travel at night, rather, when we sleep. And so we could find ourselves, because there's another part of our consciousness in spirit that does its own work and investigations, and it might go out and travel and end up in places in which there is violence. I've done a lot of this type of spirit travel at night in which, for whatever reason, I'm talking to individuals in spirit in areas that are pretty messed up. Like I'm doing spirit work as a teacher when I'm sleeping. And there was a lot of this happening in the years in which I pulled back from the internet. And so again, one has to be careful with their energy. If you do see me take a break from the internet for a number of days or weeks, I'm probably engaged in pulling back in general from the internet as a whole. And in preparing to return to the internet, for at least a month or so, I did not use the internet heavily. I did not watch YouTube. I did not watch streaming video content. And the other day I did watch Big Trouble in Little China. I did watch Superman. I did watch Hulk Hogan and No Holds Barred on Tubi, right? Then I looked over at Amazon and some other pages like Hulu, and I'm like, yeah, still crap. Still crap. But there will be the occasional movie like One Crazy Summer with John Cusack, on Tubi and other things, but I keep it to a minimum. And some of those movies are really, really macabre, although they're really, really entertaining. Like House of a Thousand Corpses, made by Rob Zombie, right? Which I've watched a few times. But it's like the more spiritual I become, the more I look at these behaviors of watching movies like this, The Evil Dead, others, as behaviors that are not really conscious. And so like these monitors that people are watching addictively, that literally depict horror film scenes in which entities and Baphomet energies, devil energies are literally coming through the screen, right? In the actual movie. Art imitates life and life imitates art, right? But where can you find a psychic talking about these issues, or a book on psychic self-defense that talks about the internet as a conduit for these spirits? The internet is a conduit. The Netflix and the Roku and the Apple TV and the monitor is a conduit. Your phone is a conduit. The LED lights is a conduit. The street lights in your major city are a conduit. The power grid is a conduit. The chips are a conduit. And as I told you before, there's a Sufi Muslim out of LA that talks about this in great detail, along with the changes coming from the sun. I say more power to him. Whereas a lot of people of his religion, they just don't go there. They do not talk about the unseen forces. They are just simply in worship mode. I'm recommending to you that we combine true faith and a true worship isn't actually the word that I use, but to truly serve God by serving man. And mixing that with the proper way to meditate, with the proper stones, with the proper incense. Like, you do need to have the discernment if you're going to operate outside the church, if the churches have rejected you as they've rejected me, right? Because a lot of them just want followers. I've even called Moss and offered to speak with them about what is to come. But I said, but don't try to convert me to your religion. And don't try to treat me as a lesser than for not being of your religion. Because I care about you and I've stood up for people like you. And the things that are happening now, I've predicted. You think they called me back? You think the other churches and the other pastors that I called, all 10 of them, called me back, right? They didn't call me back. Because they don't have that discernment from God, that feeling from God that says, this young man's trying to help you. You should talk with him. I've talked with and sent content to secretaries that work for pastors. I've sent them my voice where I talk about things that are to come. And they said, wow, I really feel your spirit. This is straight up going upstairs. I'm sending this to our pastor. You think that pastor who has his flock, who's interested in making money, ever thought to call me back? And so there's many of us for various reasons, and some of you may be rural and living in rural areas where there is no church near you and there are no meetups and there is no community. You have to create your own sacred space, right? In your home and in your outdoor area. And you need to find your power base. You need to find your favorite park, your favorite mountain, your favorite river, your favorite trail. And for some of you in urban environments, it's going to be your favorite coffee shop where the vibes are high, where the vibes are positive. So, other ways to clear your energy: water. Water is one of the best ways to clean ourselves. I just stated that. When you are in the shower, imagine the water washing away any residual energy that you don't need anymore. Sometimes just do this quickly just by washing your hands and saying, with this water, I release any energy that is not mine. Try a salt bath. I like to use Epsom salts, the author writes. There's also Himalayan salt that you can also get affordably, which I prefer. And so when I do have the opportunity to take a bath, I take a bath and a shower. And I'm engaging in much more of that practice, going back with what I was talking about earlier, than when I was living off the grid. So I do speculate, did the lack of showers, did the overabundance of my time online and certain unconscious internet behaviors contribute to greater spiritual attacks on my person? And it looks like that, combined with the day and age in which we were in, it seems that all signs point to yes. Also, there's another content creator who I don't have an interest in speaking to. I spoke about that in a recent podcast. He took off from the internet after October of 2019. So did I, although I still kept creating content for Patreon in 2020, and only recently have I come back. Isn't it interesting? Even though we look at the world differently, we both talk about spiritual warfare and protecting ourselves from intrusion. I think that it's not an accident that you have seen many content creators stop what they were doing in 2019 and 2020. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just the coronavirus. In fact, the coronavirus lockdowns created the situation for many people to create a massive amount of content. But if you really want to clean your mind, body, and spirit from the gunk of others, you literally have to take off from the internet until your mind, body, and spirit is strong. And if you're not able to maintain a strong field, if you're engaged in drinking, chain smoking cigarettes, smoking the wrong kind of pot, or too much THC without the CBD to balance it out, also known as the entourage effect, it could be argued that you are not going to be fully protected. And things may be attracted to you and your field that you know nothing about. And so you could be having thoughts that are not your own, influenced into certain radical directions, and not even be aware of it. And that's where I hope that some of you are getting something from this. And if some of you at some point develop a level of spirituality that helps you rise above a certain level of hatred, if you have a certain level of hatred in your heart, then that's something to celebrate. Don't hide that. Talk about that with others. Talk about that with me directly. If there's anything that I've shared with you that has helped raise your vibration above a negative vibration. Okay, I have yet to hear that from folks. But maybe one day, if I don't give up and I don't let the evil of this matrix win, maybe one day I will hear from others that have been helped by my words. Because I know for a fact that I have helped many, many people in the past. There was a reason why many people were watching my Archon podcast series, which went on for years and years and years and years. But I'm telling you, you keep talking about the Archons, you keep talking about certain things, and if you don't live a fully spiritual life, you're gonna deal with pushback, and it won't feel good. Sometimes when I uploaded, I felt a sense of hatred towards me, and I wondered over the years, was that simply a human hating on me? Or was I being hated on, if you will, by other spirits not in human form that happen to exist on the internet? So I covered a lot here. Essential oils. She recommends, and there are basically essential oil diffusers. For example, I'm turning on right now one that has dragon's blood within it. She doesn't recommend that, but she recommends lemongrass, cypress, lemon, frankincense, eucalyptus, grapefruit, rosemary, and peppermint. There's also something else that may be beneficial, and that are those little running water devices in which you put in the water, and it looks like a mini creek. It sits on your desk. It has a little bit of rocks in it, and it constantly is cycling through water. There is something about the constant use of water and the running of water that does have a spiritual effect. Now, I was working out at a gym, and I'll talk about it another time. They definitely placed judgment on me, and there were some racist comments actually that were made in my presence by an angry old man that was an old football jock that worked at that gym. But that's another story. I use their sauna on a regular basis to purify myself of some of that negative energy in the initial parts of 2020. And I actually quit that gym, which I had to travel a certain distance to get to. I quit that gym because of the way that I felt that staff member had viewed me. You know, I'm wearing soccer. I'll tell you, I'm wearing soccer shoes. And he comes up behind me as I'm changing, talks to another older white man and says, you know, Saddam Hussein would execute his soccer players when they fail to win a game in Iran. He meant to say Iraq. He's so stupid. He meant to say Iraq, but he said Iran, right? And then there were other things said, and the guy who had the Punisher logo on his car worked out first thing in the morning when I would go there, and he looked at me like he wanted to kill me. I used to work out in gyms all the time in Portland, Oregon. I never came across that level of energy until I worked out at that gym. But anyway, it's in the past. The point is I went to that gym for a few months because of the sauna. There are saunas that you can buy for your own house that are $200, $300, right? That you can plug in, and they're stand-up saunas. I don't have a brand to share with you, right? But I'm familiar with this, and you can get like a little type of a steamer type of device that you plug into the wall, and through a little plastic hose, it fills up that sauna with steam. So as you sweat and you sweat and you sweat, not only is it good for you on a physical level to sweat, for your cardiovascular, for your lungs, especially if you smoke, and especially if you smoke cannabis, especially if you smoke dry cannabis in, say, a pipe rather than vaping. It is very, very important and healthy that you engage in sauna practice. And you don't have to have a, quote, infrared sauna, which costs thousands and thousands of dollars. You can just simply have one of these. And so they never really told people properly how to prevent the health event. Using my words, language carefully if I choose to put this on YouTube. Some of these podcasts should go to YouTube to invite the people on YouTube to come over to Substack. And so if one wants to prevent illness, whatever the illness is, let's say a zombie plague, not that it's not already here, exercise, prayer, meditation, tuning out of the wrong media sources, tuning in to the right media sources, be it this one or another, and engaging in sauna while taking oil of oregano, while drinking aloe vera juice, while taking magnesium, while taking other things, maybe some GABA. I'm taking some GABA right now. I'm also taking some ashwagandha. Ashwagandha, yeah, it sounds something like that. And some B complex and some multivitamins, right? There's way more that I'm doing for my health now than what I was doing when I was living off the grid. When I was living off the grid, I ate bad pork sausage, which I didn't even properly refrigerate, right? I didn't have a good mattress. And I made the mistake of performing on YouTube in my actual living space where I actually sleep. And I do not recommend that people physically show their living space to people that don't like them. Even though I am doing videos now, right? I'm not doing it while sitting on my bed where I actually sleep. You don't want people focused on where you actually sleep if you're pushing back against the dark forces. There's so much in this book. I'm just going to tell you to just check it out on your own. I want to move forward to the numerology section, but psychic protection, now that we have learned how to center, ground, and clear ourselves, the last stage of psychic hygiene is self-protection. We can sum this up by saying that psychic protection is all about learning to set boundaries. It is a difficult set for many sensitives to master, but the good news is that once we learn how to set a boundary, it works in all the situations that we find ourselves in. Okay, so let me just go through this. You should already know about the human aura. Just as the human aura right, is powerful, is energetic, but invisible. So does the earth have an aura. It's called the magnetic field. And so, due to certain circumstances, there are holes in the Earth's magnetic field, not just from potential space weather, but from high atmospheric weapons and testing that the US government and the Russian government and maybe the Chinese government have been doing for years. And so, you can also find information about ozone layers, holes in the Earth's magnetic field, that may be caused by man. And so in the same way that unhealthy government behavior can affect the Earth's magnetic field, right? Humans can engage in certain activities that result in holes in their Earth's magnetic field. And absolutely, chain smoking is one of those things. Drinking lots of alcohol is absolutely something that will result in holes in your auric field. This information is not for everybody. If you want to continue doing what you're doing, if that is part of your lifestyle, then by all means continue doing what you're doing. But there are people here that want to hear about this. If you're engaged in having sex with random women that you met off Craigslist, which I did back in the day, don't be surprised when you deal with demonic interference in your life, or if you look at adult content, which is not clean and pure, nor are the servers in which that content is hosted on. So even if you think you're looking at a video that is seemingly, pure or something, right? Some normal sex, it doesn't matter. It's still those websites. Just like YouTube comes with risks, just like Facebook comes with risks. There was a woman who used to consume my content, who was pretty active in the comment section, who I considered to be above average intelligence because she was receptive to the things that I was saying. Fast forward a few years after I leave the internet, and she enters the world of TikTok. And so even though she's aged out from being what could be considered to be a young hottie, and she's already in her 30s, she acts as if she is 15 years old with these 5-second clips and zooming in on her eyes and clips that make no sense whatsoever. We're talking 3-second clips, 5-second clips. We're talking about, like, I don't want to use the word zombie because I really did like her, but it was really heartbreaking to see what TikTok had done to her. Sure, maybe it was something else. Maybe it was people in her family, but no. I saw her past content and she had a level of brilliance within her. Fast forward to her TikTok days, and there was no intelligence in those TikTok videos. I try to reach out to warn her about TikTok, how I think that it's spying on women and gathering their data and might even be involved in some nefarious things, which I've talked about in other podcasts. If you're new to my work, listen to the other podcasts where I talk about coming world events. I don't think that it's brilliant for women, especially if they think that they're spiritual and intuitive, to put their beauty out there on TikTok, whether they be Arabic, Middle Eastern, white, or black, or any other ethnicity. And so anyone in their true mind who's truly tapped in to the true angelic realms would not get on TikTok, even for views, and just put their beauty out there for the world to see. Because it has a brain damaging effect, right? So these are people that need to learn how to ground and shield. If you're going to use certain platforms that have toxic energy, you need to learn how to protect yourself, just like the martial arts. In the same way that you clean your body with a shower and you engage in physical hygiene, you also are recommended to engage in spiritual hygiene, in prayer, in reading spiritual books, in reading the right scriptures. You need to have the discernment to zone in on the right scriptures and stay away from the other manipulations of these books that have been manipulated by man, and in particular, men that have attempted to control other humans through a wide variety of religions. So creating a protection bubble, connect to the grounding cord and see if you can feel the energy flowing all the way down your spine and from your tailbone to your feet. As you inhale, pull energy strongly into your center. It's great if you can pull up from the earth and down from the divine source at the same time, all right? That's way more simple than what Leon's technique was, which I won't even bother to try to detail because it takes like 10 minutes. This is like, no, bring in from the above, the God source, and you can even say the God source below, although we shouldn't be necessarily worshiping nature, but the energy of the earth, the powerful primal grounding energy of the earth, bringing the cosmic energy down and the earth energy up through the feet, through the grounding cord, rather, through the tailbone, to your center. Again, her audio meditation files is newharbinger.com/50744. Collect this energy at your center, and as you exhale, breathe this light out through your body and through all the layers of your energy field, right out to the boundary layer and beyond. Okay? Breathe out, push it out. As you breathe in that cosmic energy, Godhead energy down into your body, and bring up the earth energy through your grounding cord to your center, and breathe out, pushing your boundary out. Imagine that the boundary layer is something strong, not weak, not pathetic, not incompetent, but strong. Use whatever image comes to mind, such as a rubber ball, crystal ball, bowling ball, or even a castle wall, or a brick wall. Imagine a brick wall. See it, feel it, sense it, or just know that you are on the inside of the bubble. The world is on the other side, and nothing can cross this boundary without your permission. Set your intention that only supportive energy comes through this boundary layer, and non-supportive energy stays on the other side. Nothing can cross this boundary without your permission. Okay, let us go to another section. I think that we need to go through this information in stages, but I'm about to return this book to the library. She recommends all types of divination, and you have to be very discerning with that activity. And especially those that claim to be tapped into this. How many psychics do you know that accurately predicted 9/11 or accurately predicted the truth about 9/11 and talked about the dark side behind 9/11? For example, who's in like the New Age movement? And who do you know that has predicted these upcoming tensions with China? Even if we're not at war now, right? They're moving towards war, and there are tensions with China. How many channelers can you tell me in the comment section? Use it, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Substack, listening on Substack. Because I've looked for years, ladies and gentlemen, I can't find any. For some reason, many of the people that have put out channeled information have not told the truth about the world situation. And many are promising ascension and 5D, and it's heartbreaking. You know, I look at the comment sections here and people are saying, I can't wait till it's 5D and the ascension because life is too painful here on earth. And they don't realize that we are here for a reason. We are here to grow. And the people that are angry with people talking about earth being a classroom need to mature and grow up. And we're also talking about certain people that you know in the alternative media. I remember sitting in the home of somebody who I mentioned already, and he saw my video on life being a test and how we are here to become masters. And he seemed to be angry with me, even though I'm there to interview him at his home. Those videos are online of me and him talking at his home on the couch. And he's like, what type of God would send us here to be tested? What type of God? That doesn't sound like a spiritual person. That sounds like a person who doesn't understand the basics of spirituality. But he claims to be this master of all this great knowledge and wisdom. Without a doubt, we are here to learn, ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't learn from certain lessons, if you continue to demonize people that don't look like you, don't think that you're going to escape this matrix trap. Don't think that you're not going to come back in the form of human that you dehumanized, because I'm convinced in my heart that that is the destiny of many people that are engaged in hate at this time. So while you have many spiritual teachers, and you've got Ramtha, and you've got the guy up in the Northwest with his UFO sky watching ranch, right? These people have given many fake predictions, and they take these world misleaders that are placed and selected, that are put into office, and they act like they have been sent by the Galactic Federation of Life. You don't have to be a psychic. You don't have to be brilliant to know that that is a load of bull crap. So you don't just have to meditate, folks. You've got to push out the negative influences. It's actually better that you not listen to people that are polluting your mind than necessarily engage in hours and hours and hours of meditation. You don't actually need that. You just really need to push out the toxic internet energies, the toxic influential media figures, and tap into your true knowledge and discernment. When I talk, I can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk for hours, and it's my own information. I don't need a script. Many people out there, they need a script, or they need someone to tell them how to think. Look at the network. I talked to you about the network in a recent video, and if you haven't seen it, watch it. There are people that act like they're tied in with a network, an alien network, where they're all saying the same thing. They're all talking about the same thing. They're all talking about 5D. They're all talking about ascension. They're all worshiping Trump. They're all worshiping Putin. They're never diverse in their politics, right? You should know them by their fruits. They're all talking about the same things, right? But they're not warning about Russia. They're not warning about China. They're not warning white women about the future in which things might change for the worse. How many of these New Agers have warned us about human trafficking? You know human trafficking is going on. Whether you watch Sound of Freedom or you're looking at somebody else, right? There are many people that are being told about human trafficking, right? But in the conspiracy movement, they want you to think that it's just an adrenochrome, blood-drinking, reptilian, Democrat-run human trafficking, where everybody else is a bunch of angels. And that is hogwash. Okay. Angel numbers. 1 and 1s. This is the number of beginnings and the gateway to new things, which represents the threshold. You are on the verge of something new, and it is up to you to walk through the gateway. Many people see these numbers on digital clocks. 2s. You are at a moment of choice. Look at the balance point. There are 2 paths in front of you. Look into your heart and ask for guidance to help you choose. This number might also mean that you have made the right choice. 3s. 3 is the number of the ascended masters and the highest levels of consciousness that humanity can achieve. It is the number of Christ and represents his ascension to the higher planes of consciousness. 4s, and especially 444. This is the number of the angels and is a sign that angels are around you and offering guidance and support. 5s, change is upon you. Things are breaking up and deconstructing so that your life can form a newer and higher way. It may be uncomfortable as things shift, but it's good to have faith that in the long run, the change will be beneficial for you. 6s, and I'm going to say something to you in a minute. You have overreached yourself and are now out of balance. Sometimes 6 represents stagnation and the need for change. Refocus your energy and take full responsibility for yourself and your life. Grounding practices can be helpful here. You know, there's more interpretation, just so you know, other than the Antichrist was 666. When you see 666 or 66, it's also a sign that you need to bring yourself back into balance because, you got your energy moving in a lot of different directions. And I was noticing a lot of 66 symbolism when I was initially uploading my content. And it was a reminder to stay grounded and not just jump online full time and neglect your spiritual practice. I've seen many combination of numbers. I don't need to repeat them all. I've seen them for years, but it really kicked off a few months ago, and especially when I got a clock from the store. I like to play classical music for my cat also. I love my cat. The cat has been a big part of my life in recent years. So yeah, I actually unplugged the clock because I was sick and tired of seeing 911 and 119 and all these numbers all the time, 444, 555, but I still see them on the clock. I'm not saying that we should ignore them. There are biblical people out there that say that you cannot look at these things. And I'm like, you know what? If we're not meant to look at these things, why are we seeing them all the time? Now, certain people may have obsessions with numbers and they may take it to another level that may not be healthy. But if you're seeing signs, those signs may be from spirit. And I don't think that you should turn away from it. If you're seeing 1111 or not, if you're seeing 77 a lot, 777, 888, 999, we'll get into those in a minute. Other combination of numbers like 3s and 1s, which I also believe has to do with the Mayan calendar. This isn't an accident. And You might also look at your receipt when you buy food at the grocery store and look at those numbers, and you might start to see patterns. Like when I found steak on sale the other day and I got 16.16 for 7.7, and I felt that it was a gift from God for me to eat that meat at that price when it's usually out of my budget, and I'm usually eating ground beef or chicken, not steak. You might notice numbers on license plates. I remember when I and Mike Bluehair were driving up to see David Icke in 2009 in Bellingham, Washington, when we used to be friends. And I was pointing out all the different numerology that we were seeing on our way up there. I think maybe even up to the Rainbow Family Gathering, which was not a fun experience for me. Those were definitely not my type of folks. Definitely not really full love and light. Actually very dark and twisted. But I remember pointing out the numerology and, him being like, you're being weird, dude. Okay, enough of that. There's a lot of people out there that act like they're mystical, into magic, that know nothing about numerology, or will act like somebody else isn't tapped into something when in fact they're noticing the synchronicities and the signs. Other places that you're going to see the number, like I said, the bills that you have, the license plates that you see, the time that you look at the clock. You may get up at one particular moment and look at the clock, and then it's literally saying 2:25. And for me, I've been getting that a lot, and I interpret that to be 2025, something that I've been speaking about, a time of great, great significance and change since at least 2012. I don't believe that it is an accident. Sometimes I'll see 1125. You just add the 1 and 1 together, and you got 225. And so when it comes to numerology, it's not limited to what is in this book or what you find on Google. When you type in those angel numbers and you get in the meaning, you're getting that interpretation from those websites. You may be the one that knows what it means. So if I keep seeing 225, 225, 225, and now a great number of people are talking about 2025, including the late Tom Horn, who passed away of a cardiac event several days ago, I think that we have the answers within us in some cases to know why we see certain numbers. Okay. 7 is the number of magic and manifestation. Now, Crowley was into this, and it's also used, I believe, for satanic purposes. I actually went on an anti-777 rant, for those that remember that, years ago, and I ranted how I stood against the silent religious folks that are allowing genocide on this planet. And then I was heavily spiritually attacked for it. They probably thought that I was anti-Christ or something for saying that I was anti-777. What I was really trying to say is I am anti the black magic use of numbers to harm people. I remember I worked for a particular individual in Portland, Oregon when we opened up a survival store. And we requested with the phone company that our numbers add up to 777. That's engaging in a certain magical practice. Did that bring me good luck? Did that bring the business good luck? No, it did not, and the business did not survive. And the individual that I worked with was cruel to me and knew that he could abuse me. And when people came looking for me when I left his survival store, he told people I got a hold of the wrong batch of dope just because I used cannabis. Just because I used cannabis, he told people in Portland, Oregon that came looking for me, where's Alex, that he got a hold of the wrong stuff. This dude was taken over by evil forces. And everything that he posts in his newsletter is fake news and disinformation, right? He has some compassion for the Palestinians, but where is his compassion, like I said, for the other victims of war? He hates those people. So why are the Palestinians so different then? Why are the Palestinians so different than the Afghanis and the Iraqis? They're not. They're human beings that have life, so do others. And so there are people out there that follow Crowley that use the numbers for magical purposes. It does not mean necessarily that they are of the light. And I hope that some of you are getting something out of these recordings. I hope that some of you are learning something from these recordings. And if so, leave a comment down below and let me know what you're learning from this. Okay, so just because you see people with crystals and New Age bookstores and all these things, and they're talking love and light, and they got all these numbers around them, and they're going 777, that does not mean that they are actually truly serving the Christ consciousness. And so now when I see 77 coming to me, I don't think that it's satanic. I think that it's heavenly, along with the other numbers, but I'm not trying to use the 777 to make a lot of money and have a phone number add up to 777, right? and add in some sort of get engaged in some sort of magical practice. There's a difference when there's a sign from the heavens coming to you and when you're trying to manipulate the numbers for your own gambling habit or whatnot. Nor do I think that it's wise to engage in pendulum use or other use to go gamble on sports games. You know, I was wondering for a few years if I can use the pendulum to accurately predict games. You can accurately predict some games, which I was able to determine, but it's not going to be 100%. And ultimately, that's service to self mentality. I try to use the pendulum to ask if certain areas are going to be occupied by China. And I wrote down my answers consecutively by region. And I don't even know if it gave me the truth. I asked it directly, do I need to get iodine? Is this area going to get hit by a nuke? Do I need to relocate? No, you're fine. You're safe. Well, are you telling me the truth? Okay, how about this? How about I just throw your ass away? And the pendulums have now been thrown away. 8 is the number of abundance. The message is to harvest what you have sown and be grateful for the bounty in your life. This is the number of infinite possibility, and it also invites us to reap the rewards of our hard work and reminds us that deep gratitude can bring us more abundance. Okay, so we need to be grateful for the things that we have, for the food that we have to eat, the fact that we can actually access vitamins, supplements, nutritional food that we can't afford. Now, there was a time in the last year in which eggs went through the roof. And people were posting memes on social media about having fine dining experiences at the egg aisle, where a man is with a woman and they're dining in front of the egg aisle. And I thought that stuff was in poor taste. And in reality, egg prices came down. The Walmart vegetarian feed, 18 pack of eggs is about $3 at present. That is not expensive. And so while we are in this era of time where we can afford to eat, in a world in which many people cannot afford to eat, we should be grateful to God for being allowed to live in a region of the earth where we are not starving to death. How many literally get down on their hands and knees and thank God that they have not been born in a foreign country that's being bombed back to the Stone Age? Many people that purport to follow God and the teachings of Jesus do no such thing. Some may. Many do not. And I'm one man of God that is here to say that we should be grateful, even for this internet connection. Many people are not grateful that they're able to hear my voice at this time. They want the old Alex. They want a weak Alex. They want a co-opted Alex. They want an Alex with a weak magnetic field that one could just walk into and manipulate. The new Alex says that the old Alex is dead and the new Alex has arrived. And so I'm at a certain level of energy frequency and growing as we move towards the next eclipse and beyond, in which I'm not going back to my old ways and my old mistakes. I'm going to continue to learn. I'm going to continue to learn about nutrition. I'm going to continue to learn about men's health. I'm going to continue to learn about how to extend our lifespan through proper diet and proper living, right? I'm not going to go back to a toxic way of life and talk to toxic people that are not going to attempt to evolve spiritually, because I am on a mission. And this is more than just helping other souls on this planet. It's about evolving my own soul, because this is not my true home, and I do not deserve to stay in the earth realms forever. So if you think you can just buy David Icke's book, The Trap, and just take some advice, don't go to the light. It's the archons. It's the archons. Don't go to the light. I say, if you really want to evolve beyond the matrix realms, be a good person. Stand up for people that are being persecuted. Don't just obsess on whether or not you're going to go to the light or not when you pass over into the hereafter, right? You need to think in your mind that you are going to earn the right out of this prison. You are going to say it now. Say it now in your mind. At the moment that I'm speaking, you are of a value. You are of a consciousness. You have the right to get out of this prison planet, but you have to do the work. You can't just tap your heels 3 times and just say there's no place like home, like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. You have to do the work. Like it or not, you're in a classroom. And if you want to get out of this classroom, if you don't want to keep being held back in this school, then you've got to learn something from this world. Nines is a completion number that symbolizes the end of a cycle. Take a moment to honor the ending of things as a part of the normal cycle of things. Something ends and something new can begin. Okay, now, I'm going to say this really quick because the book talks about using tarot and oracle cards. Let me say this. You can create your own deck. Okay, so let's say there's a certain number of focuses or things that you need to do, or maybe things that you're going to talk about. Write those things down on a piece of paper or several pieces of paper, shuffle them, put it into a hat, or make your own deck of cards, make your own system, and draw those cards. And this is just something that's in my mind. I've never done it myself, but I have used, which you've seen me do. I grab random books and I flip to random pages. I'm drawn to go to certain stores. And when I go to those stores, lo and behold, there's a prepper item that I can get. Oh, look at that. It's a propane stove, 2-burner stove from Ozark Trail, normally 30 bucks, normally 40 bucks. There it is for 15 bucks. And I literally go there to a thrift store that normally only has crap. And I end up going there on the actual day in which they had a stove. So sometimes, right, you will know where to go, what book to grab, but you also might have that dark synchronicity in which you think it's of the light, but it's not of the light, and you're being duped into going in the wrong direction. And so we have to build up that discernment. Okay. Now in chapter 5, she talks about working with our guides, how our guides operate in our lives, and there are different types of guides. But we're also manipulated by certain guides that many people falsely believe are angels. And so I do believe that prayer and intention have a lot to play in this, that we need to repeat our affirmations, that negative energies enforce us, will leave our bodies. Julian, who I posted a video from her channel recently, she talks a lot about how overcoming certain ideological mentalities and eating certain foods help the human body release their demons. Because a lot of people have demons, even if they don't know that they have demons. And this is probably going to increase as people interface with technology more and more and more. Check out my interview with Tom Horn also over at the YouTube channel, OTBTV 2.0. That would be the brand new channel, not the original channel, which has been heavily attacked by Google and YouTube. I'm going to let you use your discernment when it comes to guides and actually skip this section because there's way too many people out there that are working with guides that are not of the light. Okay, so use your own discernment with regards to that. She talks also about the different realms, right? So there's the upper realm where she says there are the spirit guides and the higher level earth spirits and the soul world, i.e. heaven, and ancestor spirits. And then there is the middle realm, where there are shadow spirits or nature spirits or fairies. Fairies are not necessarily of the light. And so a lot of these fairy people out there that you come across on YouTube are in many cases attracted to the physical beauty of the fairy, but many of these fairies like to stir up, like to stir crap up, like to create chaos. Not all fairies are of the light. Not all nature spirits are of the light. Do you hear me now? Okay, and then you have the Shadowland, the dead, the earth, the physical realm, the middle realm. And then you have the lower realm, cranky fairies, power animals, shamanic realm, shamanic guides, the uneasy dead. And then you have the lower astral realm. A lot of people are living in the lower astral realms. And these modern day technologies and a lot of the disinformation on the internet has taken people there. So let's review. Go to God, not mysterious spirits. Your guides may be helping you, and that's a great thing, but you also may be manipulated by guides that don't have your best interests at heart. And you might also deal with ancestors that could be pissed off at you for going your own way, for not procreating, for not following their religion, for being of a certain mixed race heritage, whereas you might have certain ancestors that are looking at you going, what kind of a human are you? I've literally had some interesting spirits in the dream realm when I was living off grid, in my space, looking at me going, what kind of a human are you? Fee, fi, fo, fum. I also had another dream. I'll tell the story and then we'll close. I had a dream that a cow was walking up the road in which I used to live off of in Southwest Colorado. And this was having two other mystical experiences involving certain deities in Hinduism, even though I don't follow Hinduism. So like I told you one time, I was tripping on mushrooms in 2008, and the word Shiva came to me when I was standing on Powell Butte Park off 160 something in Portland, Oregon, right off Powell Boulevard. So Shiva was angry apparently and breathing underneath me, and it was almost like, get off me, human. And I started seeing like a UFO in the sky or lights in the sky. So I took off on my bike and I crashed into the gate because they closed the gate. And I flew over that gate in slow motion, it seemed, at least in my mind, and fell on the ground unharmed. I could have really busted my body up from that. The second cosmic experience was when I was homeless in 2014. Me and Mike went over to get a canopy off 60th and Powell, and the canopy said Brahman. And my old girlfriend Emily said, look, the back of your canopy says Brahma, because she knew about that stuff. And then in 2018, I'm looking at Vishnu, and a cow literally is walking up. And so, folks, there may be times in which there is spiritual information that is in our ancestry that at certain points is talking to us. And I don't think that we should be ignoring all of these signs. I believe in a one true God, not multiple gods. And I believe in God's law. And if you have the gift of discernment, you can find parallels in spiritual beliefs regarding morality and the need to have a moral compass in various faiths and religions around the world. Again, you were hearing excerpts from Awakening Your Psychic Ability from Lisa Campion, Campion, author of The Art of Psychic Reiki. A very good book, although one you want to use discernment with, and I added in my 2 cents, and I hope that you got something from this as well.